had this feeling that if I could just get a chance to apply my abilities and my ideas to something, I knew it wouldn't work like magic, but I just felt that I could have an impact somehow. It's been a long, long journey of trying to solve this environmental issue, create a sustainable future, but also create a space within my art making so that when I make art, my role within the universe is a natural one and that it's worthy of trusting. I'm John Sabra. I'm an environmentalist, I'm an artist and an activist. I teach at Ohio University as a professor of art. I don't think I knew Ohio was a state when I applied for the job, really. We had not intended to move to a rural area. We had no clue about what Appalachia was. This was a very foreign place to us. But we came here, and I was very fortunate to meet a group of environmental faculty members. And that group would go around and they would teach us about the local southeastern Ohio environment. One day they took us out to these streams, and before you got to the streams, you could smell it. The smell was powerfully sulfuric, and you were wondering if you should be out there, if this was some chemical spill had happened, something. It was very bad. And they took us around to the stream, and the stream was orange all the way through with streaks of white and this kind of crust that was on the outside of it. It literally looked like some poison was boiling out of hell. And nothing's living in that stream. It just looks like a chemical spill. And they were like, this is acid mine drainage. And that orange you're looking at, that's iron oxide. To have the shock that this pollution would just be allowed to be there, I was thinking someone would have fixed this, right? After that, when they said iron oxides, I was like, this is what a lot of artist pigments are made of. This is what I paint with every day. It's the thing that is actually in all those early cave paintings. I just asked the group, can I use this iron oxide to make paints with? Nobody had an idea, like, you don't know. I was like, okay. So I took a jar.
These mines around here, there's a bunch of them. I did work in one. My father was a coal miner, and I spent 25 years in them, and 25 years of eating dust.
Hey, I just make sure he's all right. I seen 2 vehicles there drove by.
Nosy. A lot of people from all around here, they moved to get jobs because the coal mines had all shut down. Everybody had to go somewhere else. I think it was in 1983 when this water broke through right back here. It's mine water coming from underneath the ground. You did know that, didn't you?
We're standing in this drainage creek that runs out of the mine shaft. Thousands and thousands of miles of tunnels are underneath there. That's all filled up with water. That water is acidic and it's leaching this iron out of it. Right there is over 1 million gallons of acid mine drainage pollution coming out every single day. As it goes down there, it hits Sunday Creek and it kills it for the next 7 miles. Learning about the history of unsustainable extraction in this region and having this education as a non-local, I was really compelled to do whatever I could to make a change in the environment for the better. That's when I decided that this is what I was going to dedicate my efforts to. So I took this jar of sludge back to my studio and I was like, this is going to be fun. I'll make paint out of it. And it went about as badly as you could possibly go. It just chunked up, it rebelled, and it coagulated, and it was not successful at all. At that point, one of my family friends, she came up to me and she said, I'm working with my professor and we need an artist's help. Would you have coffee with him? I was like, yeah, sure, okay, no problem, yeah.
In Southeast Ohio, acid mine drainage is a common pollutant in our streams. You can still run into children who you tell them to draw a stream and they reach for an orange crayon. There wasn't regulations in place. There was this real sense that the environment is vast and it can handle it and recover on its own. Now we know that's clearly not happening and that our impact is much greater than the environment can absorb over a short period of time. When I was exposed to the Truetown pollution site, I realized that we really didn't have a technology that could tackle this problem. That's when I started to develop one. There's so much water coming out that has to be treated. It's too expensive through conventional means. So we needed a new technology where we could treat the water, collect the pigment, and sell it to come up with some sort of economically sustainable process.
He explained that he was trying to make a pigment out of this iron oxide, and I was like, wait, is it the same stuff that I went out and got in the stream? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm not having any luck with it. He goes, yeah, I'm not having great success with it either. So
I said, hey, can you analyze these powders and tell me if they're good pigments or not? He was like, yeah, well, I could do that, but let's do something amazing. That's what he said.
We could do a thing in the Capitol building. We could do this and get all these people behind it.
I hesitated and
I want to give Riefler complete credit for actually having a second meeting where we could actually work through it. But seeing how he was already getting better results than I got on my own, at that point, I was all in.
before I knew it, he was in my lab helping direct experiments, proposing new things we should try.
The first 5 or 6 years of this project was essentially us making very terrible pigment, one after another. It was very frustrating, but eventually we started to get some good colors.
We noticed that when we got up to 500 degrees Celsius, it turned red. And John was looking at the results and he said, well, how high does that go?
I was like, well, we need to crank this stuff up. And he was like, I don't think we want to do that. And I was like, I think we want to do that.
He's like, well, let's crank it up and see what happens.
He's such a cool dude. He was like, yeah, okay, let's give it a go.
We put it in there and we turned it up. Something in the sludge off-gassed a little and filled the room with smoke.
Some alarms have gone off and we've had some fire trucks out, and I'm sorry about that, everyone, I really am. But our pigment turned violet, which is just, we were stunned. We had no idea. We were like, what?
You can't on the market really buy iron-based purple pigments, so we found something new.
So at that point, we knew we had something that was definitely marketable to artists. And that's when I reached out to Gamble and Artist Colors. First batch of paints, which is this. This is the reclaimed Earth Violet. They made 500 tubes of this oil paint using our pigments. That was what let funders know, okay, your idea to actually clean up pollution and sell it to pay for the cleanup might actually be viable.
We're actually taking the problem and we're turning that into the solution by making it into a high quality pigment product. It can be sold as a commodity. It has real dollar value. To take something that has for years and years been killing fish, killing streams, and turning that into something beautiful that can actually pay for the restoration of the water and fuel this whole process of recovery, that's incredible, and it's incredibly hopeful. John cares so much about helping other people care about this work and this vision to have clean streams in our area. And I think he's able to convey that to people through his art.
I think oftentimes the way that we communicate about these problems, how we might be trying to solve them, all these complexities that are involved with it, I understood early on that what might draw people is to do away with all of that and have their initial invitation come in through beauty and through color and through art. The round paintings with the dynamic color flows, that was me wrestling with how do we start a conversation without the how? How do we start it with the feel, with the invitation? As the art got out there and as the project's going, then people started asking me to come out and talk about this publicly. That drove me to meet people around the world who are working on other environmental projects and other sustainable issues. All of this is leading me to this much larger role. I still have a lot of imposter syndrome whenever I go anywhere and talk. I'm just a guy from Ohio. I'm just doing this in my studio out here. It's nothing I could have imagined, but it's something that I feel very privileged to be in a position to be able to do. So you're in the center of the circle, so you get to do the dance first.
Right.
Just kidding, okay.
Thanks for being here today, everybody. We really appreciate your help.
It's always been people like you that are willing to come out for a morning or an afternoon or something else. There's a lot of laundry involved for sure. Essentially what we're gonna do is we are gonna haul buckets of sludge from the bottom of the creek up. We're gonna pour them through these sieves. We're gonna filter it out. Hopefully what we get is fairly pure iron oxide in the bottom, which we're then gonna take back and process at the university, turn that into pigments.
This is incredibly important to get enough material that we could process into the pigment. It's a lot of buckets and a lot of people providing the power to make this happen.
If I can make even a small difference by putting on a pair of waders and hopping into this iron sludge, it's definitely worth it. I would gladly do it again in a heartbeat.
I would do this every day if I could. You get to play around in the gross orange stuff, which is kind of fun.
That was great. Tell me you got that on film. Oh, man.
It feels really, really good to be out with a bunch of sweet, like-minded folks working hard and knowing that you're at least helping a little bit.
We've got the university, we've got Rural Action, which is a nonprofit. Then we've got the state and the federal agencies that we wouldn't be able to make this happen on the ground without their support, with the Office of Surface Mining and the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. I think things got really real when we were approved our grant request for $3.5 million for construction for a treatment facility.
I mean, can you even think back to sneaking in the back of the creek to get some samples, you know?
I know.
I was 11 years old, you were 9.
This is the site of the future True Pigments acid mine drainage treatment and pigment production facility. Probably have to shorten that name, but.
Once this plant goes live and we flick that switch, we are going to intercept 100% of that pollution. We'll no longer have that 7,000 plus pounds of iron coating that stream. It's not something that we hope cleans it up eventually. We are going to see this happen in real time, really fast. I can't wait to see it.
We're just upstream of where that orange sludge is going into Sunday Creek. The water quality is pretty good. I'm finding bugs. There are fish here. If we did this at the site just downstream of True Town, I could dip 100 times and probably get nothing. There's no reason why the lower part of Sunday Creek can't look like this. Once we fix the pH and once we take the iron out, those fish and bugs will come back to that part of Sunday Creek. Thinking about these big problems that we're facing collectively, like biodiversity loss and climate change, it can get overwhelming really quickly. But if everyone did something like this across the world, that's how we will make change happen.
It is just a small creek in a rural area in southeast Ohio, but to me it matters. I think once you start to show that there are solutions out there to the problems that people said couldn't be fixed, I think once you start to chip away at that, you can start to address the other ones and it will build.
Being at this place now where we're going to see, hopefully, this solution, I feel more than ever that it's about trusting people again. When we put people together from different disciplines and different backgrounds, that is when this kind of magic happens. The exponential potential of humans to solve these crises and to really take stewardship over a future that is going to be sustainable and is going to be joyous. I believe more than ever that that's possible, I believe more than ever that that's what we have to do. It's not just us out here in the middle of nowhere. More people are deciding that the systems aren't working, but humans are working. If I can have a voice, if I can have any influence at all, I would like people to understand that we can trust us again. It's about us. Let's get together. That's how we're going to do it.